Welcome to Advanced Real Estate Objection Handling. For those of you that don't know me, I'm Brett Matsura. And for those of you that are here live, thank you for taking time out of your day to attend this training live. For those of you that are catching this on the replay, then down below, you can subscribe to this channel and you can hit the alert button and be notified of all the training. Now, for those of you that are here live, you can go to YouTube and just put in my name, Brett Matsura, and a history of all the trainings that we've done and objection handling and additional training. You can definitely go there, get access to all of that, so you can listen to this as we go as well. So today's objection handling are, so now just so you guys know, one of the things that I'm doing from the last training to this training and ongoing, there's a Mike Ferry 40 real estate objection handlers sheet that has 40 objections that I'm systematically going through. Now, the difference between the way that I do things and what maybe other sales skills trainers or other coaches or trainers do is that I focus on conversational selling, right? It's not the hardcore selling. It's not the go directly for the throat. It is having a conversation. Because when you're in a conversation, it naturally builds rapport. And when you actually build rapport, then it's an easier thing to give. Now, it's not, it's still selling, right? There's still the same objective, but conversational selling means that it's actually a conversation. It's a two-way street. Whereas most traditional sales skills, most traditional sales styles is here's an objection, here's a rebuttal, close, right? That's not how real life works. It works for some people, but what you'll find is that a lot of the top real estate salespeople and top salespeople in other regards, they were trained in the very hardcore system, but over time, it becomes very conversational. So my goal is to help you guys just become conversational right out of the gate. So the objections that we're going over, this is number 4 on the Mike Ferry 40 real estate objection handler is, why is your price so lower than other agents that we've talked to? They have comparables that show a higher price than yours. Okay, that's a legitimate question that you would get from sellers. So we're going to go over that. We're going to walk through and how to rebuttal that. The next one we're going to go over today is, it's not showing up. It's interesting. Let me pull this down and reshare it. Okay, so the next one is, I'll sell my home when the value goes up, right? If you're talking to a lot of sellers and you're going to get this objection, you're going to come up with people that are saying, you know what, I'm not going to sell right now, but when it hits a certain level, then I'll sell, right? So I'll sell my home when the value goes up. I'm going to share with you guys how to rebuttal that one. And then the third one we're going to cover today is, how much advertising do you do? Because I want a lot of advertising, right? So that's something that comes up all the time. Well, maybe not all the time, but it comes up frequently enough. So those are the 3 objection handlers, the objections that we're going to cover. And I'm going to walk you through from a very conversational selling point on how to rebuttal those. So, but first, I want to go over what I call the ultimate rebuttal formula. Now, this is something that I derived over time. It works with every single objection. Now, it's not the words. Words are the fundamentals of selling. Words are the fundamentals of everything. It's how you structure the words. It's how you emphasize the words is what matters. So it's important for you to know your scripts. It's important for you to know these dialogues. It's important for you to know that. But what's after you have those fundamentals down, what's more important is understanding the strategy behind it, the structure, right? The formula behind it. So when you get an objection, first of all, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to acknowledge it. Oops, going the wrong direction. Acknowledge it. Then you approve, right? You make them right. You group them into a situation where they're not wrong. If you want to sell something, don't make the other person wrong. Because once you make the other person wrong, it's done for. You're going to throw in a softener. It's what I call it. It's, if you don't mind me asking, while I have you on the phone, you give the reason why you're going to ask the next question. Now, they might not be okay with it. If you don't mind me asking, they might mind you asking, but they won't because you said, if you don't mind me asking. It's weird. And then you're going to ask a question. That's how the structure is going to go. You're going to do this thing 90% of the time. The only difference that you'll do on most of these is that at times you'll acknowledge and approve at the same. Also, you'll acknowledge, you'll skip over the approval, you'll approve, you won't acknowledge. So these could a lot of times be combined, and it really depends on the scenario, and it really depends on the conversation that you're having. So let's move into the first objection. Again, this is how we're going to rebuttal with conversational selling. Why is your price so much lower than the other agents that we've talked to? They have comparables that show a higher price than yours. So here's how I would do that. Mr. and Mrs. Seller, that's a really great question. In fact, most homeowners want to make sure that they price their home correctly so that they can ensure that they're maximizing their net proceeds. Is that the same for you as well? Okay, guys, so look what I did with that, right? Number one, I acknowledged that it was a great question, right? I grouped them into approving, saying that most homeowners want to make sure that they price their home effectively. Look, I labeled that into, they wanted to know, why is your price so much lower? I level shifted that into, look, I totally get it. In fact, most homeowners want to make sure that they're maximizing the price they put their home on the market for so that they can maximize the net proceeds. Is that true for you? Okay, I asked, right? The person who asked the questions will always control the conversation. Now I got to answer their question. Okay, you can't have somebody ask a question and just ignore it. That's what salespeople do. That's being salesy. Has there ever been a time where you've asked somebody a question, they just totally ignored it, and they just went into closing on you? And how did that make you feel? If you're on planet Earth and you've been around for a while and you're selling real estate, chances are you've come across a salesperson when you actually have a valid concern, they just go right over it and they just hammer you with a sale. Let me see. Sorry, guys, I had to make sure that I was sharing the screen. So they hammer you the sale. So you have to hit it directly. So Mr. and Ms. Seller, to answer your question directly and honestly, right? I want to throw in the fact of honestly, right? Honest is when you throw in a term of being honest, that strikes an emotion, right? So you want to be direct and you want to be honest. And be honest. Look, I don't know why other agents would come up with a higher price. I mean, guys, if you really think about it, how are you supposed to know why another person did something that you have no idea who they are or what they do, right? So I don't know. However, what I do know is that pricing property is an art, and not every agent has the same experience and market knowledge that I have in this area. So I don't know. It might be the case. They're not as experienced as me. Now, if you don't mind me asking, most homeowners want to work with an experienced agent that has a lot of market knowledge and experience so that they can price their home right the first time. Is that true for you guys? Guys, you see what I did there? So it was a conversation, right? It wasn't me coming out and saying, well, other agents don't know what they're doing, and I've been doing this a long time. So do you want to list your home at $750,000? What do you want to do? Right? That's not what you want to do. So let's kind of break that down and let's kind of go through that. I explained through it. So let me kind of go through this process. So here's the objection again. So Brett, we met with other agents. Why is your price so much lower than the other agents that we've talked to? They have comparables that show a higher price than yours. Mr. and Mrs. Seller, that's a really great question. In fact, most homeowners want to make sure that they price their home correctly so that they can ensure that they're maximizing their net proceeds. Is that true for you guys? Yes, absolutely. That is true for us. Terrific. Now, to answer your questions directly and honestly, I've got no idea why another agent would say what they say or price their home the way that they would want to price that, especially at such a higher price. However, okay, that's more of a pattern interrupt. Notice how I went right into that. Okay, I emphasized, however, pause. Okay, that's a pattern interrupt. I don't want to do a run-on sentence. So, however, what I do know is that pricing property is an art, and not only takes a lot of experience in the field, but it takes a tremendous amount of market knowledge. Now, me and my company have literally sold hundreds of homes in this area. I know it very well, right? So I don't know other agents. They probably don't have, most of the time, they don't have the experience or market knowledge I have. So maybe that's why. Now, if you don't mind me asking, most homeowners that I meet with and most homeowners that I work with, they're looking for an experienced agent who has in-depth market knowledge on their market to work with and help them price their home so they don't price it overpriced and stay on the market languishing. Now, is that true for you? Yes. Yes, that is true for us. Okay. Now, odds are you're not going to come up with people and say, no, that's not what we're looking for. We're looking for the person with the least amount of experience, with the least amount of market knowledge so that they can price the property wrong, right? If you come up with that, that's when you say, thank you for meeting with you and leave. So I was, that reminds me of a story. I was talking to a real estate agent yesterday, only a few years into the business, closed one transaction in the last 24 months. And as I was going through kind of the value proposition of the company, saying that, if you're a person who's looking for a proven system to, generate leads and close deals and have success, then we're the right fit for you. And he pauses and he goes, I don't think I'm the right fit for you guys, or that we're a good fit for each other. I'm like, really? I'm like, why is that? He's like, well, I like doing things on my own. I'm like, well, what do you mean you like doing things on the own? Well, you're saying that you have like systems. I'm not a systems guy. I like doing things on my own. I'm like, well, you've been in real estate for 2 years and you've closed one transaction. I mean, how's that working out for you? Right? The point is, right when that happened, I knew that conversation wasn't going to go any well. I'm not for me, and this should go for you when you're looking for business, I'm not looking to find somebody to change, right? I'm not looking to find somebody to change. I'm looking for the people who I align with, right? If you're going to try to be everything to everybody everywhere, you're going to have low production and you're going to have a very stressful life, right? So I know exactly who I'm looking for. You guys should know exactly who your target audience is. And when you get to a certain point where you're just like, now, pull the ejection seat lever and chalk that up as time spent. You can't win them all, right? So anyways, that's how I would respond to this objection using conversational selling. Now, into the next objection. I'll sell my home when the value goes up. Okay, now let's think about this one. They're going to sell their home when the value goes up. People get this today. I get this objection. Now, this is number 5 on the 40 real estate objection handlers, the Mike Ferry 40 real estate objection handlers. I'll sell my home when the value goes up. Okay, so that's exactly how I'd start this rebuttal off. Because if somebody said that to me in today's market, I'm going to lean in. I'm going to say, you're going to sell your home when the value goes up, right? So I repeated it as a question. Now, when I do that, that's going to automatically, for most people, they're going to give a little bit more information. Yeah, I know that the market's hot, and I'm seeing that prices. I'm watching the news, and I'm seeing prices that they're going up. And I have a number. When the prices go up more, then I'll sell my home. Okay, you know what, Mr. Seller, Mrs. Seller, I totally get it. In fact, one of the primary goals that most homeowners have is to sell their home for the highest possible price in the least amount or the quickest amount of time. Is that true for you as well? Right? Guys, look at that. I did the formula. I did the ultimate rebuttal formula. I acknowledged, I approved, I did a softener, and then I did an ask, right? Now, if you don't mind me asking, how much would your property have to go up before you decide to sell your home? Guys, it's a legitimate question, right? How much? What's that number? What's that magic number that when you hit it, automatically it triggers a bot or a sell signal? Well, if it goes up another 50,000, then I'll sell my home. Okay, another 50,000. Okay, wow. Again, if you don't mind me asking, how did you come up with that number? Now think about this, guys. If you were talking to one of your friends, one of your relatives, somebody that you had rapport with already, don't you think that those are the most common questions that you would have? Right? How much? So if I sell my home and the value goes up, really? That's interesting. So how much would it have to go up before that automatic sell signal would be initiated? Well, it'd have to go up another 50,000. 50,000. Wow. If you don't mind me asking, how did you come up with that number? Right? Okay. So, and then they're going to tell you, well, it's just, I don't know. It's just a number that I would do. If I could, I bought this X amount of years ago, and if it goes up to this, then we'd go to that. Okay. That makes sense. So you bought it so-and-so, you did it this. I'm just doing the ultimate rebuttal formula. I'm just repeating the whole process. Okay. I totally get it. Right? So if you do this, that, and the other, and this is how you came up with the number, right? Yeah. Okay. So my question to you, I don't mean to pry, what would happen if you didn't sell this home? I mean, do you really have to sell it? Guys, what do I always share with you? You don't have a lead until you know their why and their when. Now, if you only know on this that their value, once it goes up to 50 grand, up another 50 grand, let's say it's a $500,000 house, which in Southern California, in my market, doesn't really get you much. But let's just say that. It's a $500,000 house, which means that they want 10% over market. And this is a legitimate scenario. So number one is, how did you come up with that number? But number two is, what would happen if you didn't sell it? And if you don't mind me asking, why do you want to sell your home? Really, you could get away with just saying, why do you want to sell this? Because the motivation is going to dictate, well, if I don't sell this home, I'm just going to keep it. Okay. How long do you think you're going to keep it for? Forever, until I die. Okay. That's a condition. Okay. That is a condition. You can ask a few more questions after that. Okay. So what you're telling me is that right now, the market is home prices, home values are at the highest price in recorded history. So there's 100% probability that you can sell it right now for the most money ever. What I'm hearing from you is, unless you get 10% over what the current market is that you're going to die in this house. Am I hearing that correctly? Yes, I do. Okay. Do you quite possibly, do you know when that will be? Right? Maybe you can pick it up on a probate. No, I wouldn't say that. So, but here's the thing, you can't rebuttal a condition, right? And you have to know their motivation really to go down the path. So I'll sell my home when the value goes up. The biggest thing on this is, number one, how much does it have to go up by? Number two, how did you come up with that number? And then number three, find out why they need to sell. And they might tell you that they don't need to sell. It just makes sense to them from a financial point of view. They get, they make 10% on their money if they were to do that. So chances are they're not going to do that. Well, Mr. and Ms. Seller, quite honestly, if we sell your home right now, I don't think that you're going to get, I can promise you, you're not going to get 10% over value, not listing that high. And with the uncertainty going into next year, in fact, a lot of experts, most experts are starting to agree that we're going to see a downward pressure on prices. To what extreme, we don't know. So it might be several years before you could even get what you're getting now later. Would that change anything for you? No, that wouldn't change anything for us. We'll just stay here, right? We're fine. We can play the long game. We got plenty of room. My kids are older. They're starting to leave the house. So, if I have to hold on to this house for another decade, then I will. Guys, what I would do is put that person into your database if you have rapport with them. If you don't have rapport with them, if they just told you that if the home goes up by 10% or 10 years happens, then they might consider selling the home. So that's it. Okay, so that's how I would rebuttal using conversational selling. I'll sell my home when the value goes up. The final one. How much advertising do you do? Because I want a lot of advertising. So that's a legitimate question. I think a lot of people are talking about value propositions, but there's never going to be a time that an agent or a seller is only going to focus on the marketing that you do. That's just part of your value proposition. Okay. So through the questioning, you got to modify this, right? So first of all, I would rephrase this as a question. So, how much advertising do I do? Well, yeah, we want to make sure that the agent that we choose with, we want to know what kind of marketing they do. Okay, that's fair. So, Mr. and Miss Seller, that's a really great question. In fact, most homeowners want to work with an agent who provides maximum exposure to their property so they can sell their home quickly and for top dollar. Is that true for you as well? So look what I did there, guys. I did a level shift. I use level shifts a lot, right? And what you'll find, for those of you that hit these trainings a lot, what you'll find is that the level shifts that I do always kind of start out the same. And it goes, that's a really great question. In fact, most homeowners want to X. They want to sell their home. They want the maximum exposure so they can sell their home quickly and for top dollar. Right? So fill in the blank, right? They want to do this so that they can do this, right? I don't do just half of that, right? So now if you don't mind me asking, there's the softener. What type of marketing are you looking for? What type of marketing would you expect from the agent that you choose? Right? A lot of what would happen right there is that most salespeople will see this as a cue to start throwing up their talk track, right? They'll start telling and get away from selling, right? That's where that whole saying came from. Telling is not selling. How much advertising? I do a lot of advertising. I do this, I do this, I do this, I do this, I do this. And they'll probably be on the phone with that, okay? Without even knowing what it is that the homeowner is looking for. Right? I can promise you they're not looking just for advertising. This might be an expired, this might be a for sale by owner, this might be, most homeowners have no idea how to sell a house. So they're just wondering. Now, it's a legitimate question. It's something that you have to answer, but that's not the reason why they're going to list the home with you. If that was the case, they would just go and hire an ad agency just to do it for them and not pay a percentage of the price. Some of them might try to do that, but statistically, mathematically, it never works out for them, right? So there's something else behind it. Well, I'm looking for somebody to do, more digital stuff, right? So here's the thing. What would happen if they ask you this question and you start throwing up all the traditional marketing you do when really what they wanted to do is hear your digital strategy, right? You just wasted time. You just talked them out of choosing you because you went down the wrong path because you didn't ask a more clarifying question, right? Where we're looking for something, now guys, I don't know if you know this, but 98% of consumers use the internet when they're looking to buy something, when they're looking to transact. So that is a space that should be important to everybody. And that is a space where you should really have in your business. If you don't already have a digital strategy in your business, you need to implement one because it's kind of a big deal. It's a big deal in 2020, and in 2025, it's going to be a bigger deal. And in 2030, it's going to even be a more bigger deal. So it really kind of depends on how long are you going to be in this business, because the way that you have to adjust, you always have to adjust your business at least annually for the given environment. Everybody should be adjusting their business for the uncertainty of next year. That's what we're doing. So if you don't mind me asking, what type of marketing are you looking for? Well, I'm looking for someone who actually knows what they're doing with digital. Oh, you're looking for someone who's looking to do digital. If you don't mind me asking again, does that mean that you've worked with somebody that didn't have any experience? Yeah, we worked with an agent before. He said that he'd do this, that, and the other, and we didn't get any showings or anything like that. Oh, okay. So you worked with another agent. You didn't like the way that they're doing that. So your goal is to find an agent who actually has that strategy. Yeah, it is. Okay. So great. Look, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, I have a 22-point plan that I use to get homes sold. Now, what I'd like to see is, would you be open to meeting with me sometime this week for me to share it with you? Right. So I went for a very soft close. I totally get it that advertising is really important to you. One of the things that I do to get homes sold is that I have a 22-point plan that I call the Brett's Awesome Home Selling Plan. I've used it for years. I've sold thousands of homes with it. Would you be open to sitting down with me for 20 or 30 minutes this week at your home for me to go over it with you? And then stop talking, because the next person who talks is going to lose. Well, can you just share it with me on the phone? Can I share it with you on the phone? Yeah, I don't see any reason why you'd need to come out here and talk about it. Can you just tell me what it is you do? Not really. That's a great question, but not really. It's not one of the things that can be properly explained over the phone. I mean, it's a 22-point plan that I've revised over 2 decades of selling. So it would be easier for me to make sure to convey the value to you and to share with you how this can help you sell your home for the most money in the quickest amount of time. And all it would be is a 20, 30-minute conversation. So, would you be open to just sitting down for 20 or 30 minutes at your home sometime this week at your convenience to go over this real quick? Notice how I just repeated the question. The reason why I do that, and some of you may have experienced that with me, is you might come up with an objection. I'll rebuttal the objection, and then I'll just slightly reframe my secondary question, right? So I asked him the first time is, look, I have a 22-point plan of what I use to get homes sold. Would you be open to meeting with me sometime this week to go over it, right? Very general. Now he said that, can you just tell me on the phone? Well, not really. And the reason why is because it's a 22-point plan that I've used to literally thousands of homes. I've devised it over a few decades, and I don't think it's going to be one of those things that's going to be properly conveyed over the phone. I've tried it before, failed miserably. So would you be open at your convenience to just meet for 20 or 30 minutes at your home? I'd like to take a look at your home. I'd be happy to give you my opinion on value. But in addition, share with you exactly what it is that I do to get homes sold. Would you be able to just, do that sometime this week? I call that going 2 levels down, right? You hear people say dig deeper, right? Objections that you typically get are typically surface level, right? And they're very general objections. So you have to ask questions to dig a little bit deeper. So you're getting a little bit more detail. So you're getting a little bit more information, more of the true cause of the true source of the objection. And then going a little bit deeper is you can't be. So when I rebuttal, if I go 2 levels deep, I'm giving a general rebuttal and then going for an ask. If they give me another objection on the same subject, I'm going to go a little bit deeper. I'm going to provide a little bit more information, and then I'm going to do the same closing. So that's what I did, right? So I have a 22-point plan that I've used to get homes sold. Would you be open to meeting with me sometime this week to go over it? Well, I don't really have time this week. Can we just do it on the phone? Can you just share it with me? Can you email it with me? Not really. I mean, this is a plan that I've devised over 2 decades. I've literally sold thousands of homes with this plan. And if your goal is to sell your home for the most money in the quickest amount of time, is it something that you would be willing to invest just 20 or 30 minutes at your home to go over? Would you be able to do something like that this week? Not this week. Okay. What about next week? Do you have some time next week? No, I don't have a whole lot of time next week, right? So I'm just going down the rabbit hole with this, like a realistic scenario. Can you just email me the information? Absolutely. In fact, one of the things that I do is before I meet with anyone, I always send them out what's called a pre-meeting packet that goes over my 22-point awesome plan. It does a market analysis on your property, share with you my opinion of your value and what you would net on it. And it shares with you my experience and my credentials. So I send that out to anyone. Can we do this? This might be a happy medium. Can we set up a time tentatively? Ideally sometime this week, perhaps early next week. Can we set up a time tentatively? If something comes up that you can't do it, then of course we can reschedule. But in that interim, I'm going to get you out my pre-meeting packet that's going to have all this awesome information into it that you can review so that we can actually have a great conversation. Is that something that you'd be willing to do? Yeah, okay, I'd be willing to do that. Right? So it's just a process of having a conversation. That's all it is. And what most people really need to think about is you need to think about already being in rapport with someone, and you need to think about what kind of conversation you would have with a friend or a relative that you already have a relationship with, that you already have rapport with, that you're not afraid of what their reaction is going to be, right? You're not afraid that you're going to do this. So that's how I would handle how much advertising do you do, because I want a lot of advertising. So that concludes it for today. Thank you for those of you that showed up live. If you guys want to catch the replay on this, it's going to be posted on my YouTube page probably by the end of the day. And then next week on Tuesday and Thursdays, I'm going to adjust things to start at 8:05. I was going to do that this week, but it's going to start at 8:05 a.m. Just to give me that extra 5 minutes so I can get my daughter to school on time and not be rushed. But I'll change the reminders and everything so you guys all know that. But then we're going to have 3 new objections on Tuesday. We're going to have 3 new objections on Thursdays. So again, thank you guys. Get out there, talk to some people, rebuttal their objections, get some listings, and close some deals. Make it a great day, everyone. Bye.